NZXT Cam. Monitor your games while playing. To learn more about it, check out the description. Hey everyone, it is the Angry Honey Badger here, and it is time for a new video called OP Picks of Patch 612. The goal with this series is to have something to basically replace the tier list. Tier list to make, honestly, wasn't that great. A lot of people disagreed, which is fine. Honestly, didn't really care too much about that. But it's kind of not that fun sometimes when they don't really change things and you just kind of like barely tweak stuff. And that's not because like they should change stuff, because then when they do change things drastically with like the mid-mage update, like that completely changes the list completely. And that's not like a terrible thing. It just is a lot of work to get it into a spot that I think is really comfortable and really correct. So instead, what we have now will be the OP picks of whatever patch we are on. And I think I'm going to highlight one champion from each role that you may not be thinking of, somebody that may have a pretty good win rate, or maybe they have been seeing a rise at least within their win rate or their power or whatever it may be. So we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to start things off in the mid lane with Galio. Now, Galio, crazy, right? OP pick. Some people would laugh at that because previously on the tier list he wouldn't be that high. Galio actually, though, has come more into form with the mid-mage updates, and with one main thing to highlight about Galio's rise in the mid-mage updates is Galio counters mages fairly well. And that's not just because he has a passive that means when you build more magic resist, you get more offense, meaning if they just have another mage in the middle, then I can just stack magic resist. No, you shouldn't just stack magic resist, obviously, though. If you prioritize magic resist items, and they do have a magic damage heavy team, you're going to naturally resist that. But he actually has a pretty good kit and pretty solid damage, and the one thing he does have that makes his numbers look a little weird or skew them a little bit is he has a great initiation type ultimate, or at least a way to lock down a lot of people, and allows his team to then deal lots of damage to said champions that he's locking down. Because of this, Galio typically doesn't have the killing spree or killing numbers that a lot of other mid mages or even just mid champions naturally have. Most of them average much higher killing sprees and average more kills per game. But what Galio trades off for that is, instead of having, about a 2 to 3 less kills average per game as a mid laner over other mages, what he has is slightly less deaths for some cases, and he actually averages about 2 to 3 more assists. So he assists a little bit more to cut down on his actual killing numbers. And in some cases, I think this is a good thing. I think Galio, without a lot of gold under his belt, actually can still be fairly effective. He, on average, also has a little bit less gold than other mages because of this, but he still, right now, actually, I believe, has the highest win rate as a mid-mage. So Galio, for sure, it can be a pretty strong pick. He can have a couple little problems in the early game. He runs into mana issues sometimes if you spam too much, and he is a melee ranged auto attack. He doesn't have a ranged attack. So you got to be careful when it comes to last hitting if you get harassed too much, but you can always bring the harassment back because Galio definitely can do that too. Definitely a fun pick. I actually enjoy playing him, and you've probably seen me play him in streams, but he is my first OP pick of 612. My next OP pick, we're heading up to the top lane, and we're giving it over to Rumble. Now, Rumble doesn't have the highest win rate in the top lane, and that's not the reason why I'm necessarily putting him there, but he does find himself in the top 10 for win rates, which is a good number and is a good place to be. Now, what really brings him up is they've been tweaking him and changing him, but realistically, with changes to some of the tanks coming out of the top lane, Rumble starts to find himself dominating the top lane again. He's got a, like I said, solid win rate, but he's been finding his change in position going up and his pick priority also going up. Now, one problem with Rumble that I've always complained about is his auto attack. It's super sucky, but besides that, it usually takes a little bit of time, understanding, and gameplay with Rumble, if you're not familiar with him, to really get the hang of him. It's very, very important to manage your heat bar fairly well, so you get the maximum amount of damage out of Flame Spitter or Harpoons, and also the other big one, and a lot of people have problems with casting it, and I don't know, well, I mean, I know why. Some people just are bad at casting it, and also can be tricky, I guess. I don't have any problems, luckily, because I've played Rumble plenty, but his ultimate, the Equalizer, not the easiest thing to always cast. And that turns into problems for Rumble. Like, super good Rumbles, you've seen it. They just walk up, they get in really good fights, they manage their heat really well, they slow people, they shield, and they kill. And they are unstoppable killing machines. They get to the mid-game after they get a kill under the belt, or two, and they just show up to a team fight and they do a ton of work, and you're like, holy cow, how did Rumble get so fed? Rumble also is incredibly strong during the mid-game. I've talked about this a gajillion times, and I think I talked about it in Badger's picks, because he's also free this week. So there's another reason you should be trying him out, because he's free right now. But in general, he's found more reasons to come up and be picked because we're seeing less tanks in the top lane. This has made his win rate also rise. It's made his position change rise. It's made his play percent also go up a little bit more. Although still not the most played in the top lane. He still has a pretty low percentage, but it's been moving up. But for the most part, he averages a high number of kills. His deaths are on par with most people. He actually gets a lot more assists than a lot of other top laners, and that's because he can do significant damage to an entire team with the equalizer. So that's something you need to look for when you're looking for top laners. So right now, Rumble, top lane, OP pick. It does take a little bit of time to get down, and actually I do personally like to play him in the jungle because you can play him there too. But he is an OP pick right now, and he has been for a long time, and I used to put him in the OP section of the tier list for a long time too. Trust me, play him, he's great. Next up on the docket, we're heading things to the jungle, and with my OP pick here is going to be Sejuani. Wait, what? I thought you were just talking about how tanks are falling out of the meta. Well, yes and no. So what Sejuani's always brought is fantastic ganks, initiation, stickiness, and all of that fun jazz, which we love on junglers who can gank. It's great. It makes them fantastic, junglers to pick. They can get in and do their job, and it makes it easier for the laners to get kills and hooray and all those happy, fun things. The reason, though, I am picking Sejuani is, what have we also seen Sejuani do in the past? Really, really weird lane builds where people build her with lots of offensive items. And you can kind of think of her as an offensive, defensive mage jungler. With a little bit of damage built into Sejuani, she has a very, very successful rate of ganks and damage and numbers. She almost assists all other junglers in the game. She just does that much ganking and damage and all that fun stuff. It's great. Obviously, her damage numbers aren't the highest, but she also tanks up more damage than a lot of other junglers, so you got to remember that too. And the other big thing too about Sejuani is she's very simplistic, very easy to play, not very hard to also mess up. She's been rising up through the ranks. She is in the top 5 for win rate in the jungle right now, which is very good, especially considering, like we said, there are the falling of tanks kind of falling out, although the tanks were mostly in the top lane. But get a Haunting Guise on her fairly early. It's going to be good with whatever your Cinderhulk jungle item is, which is fantastic. I don't know why I always forget the names of things when I'm trying to talk about them. But regardless, she can get plenty of tankiness, and her base numbers are good. And with a little bit of penetration from items like Liandry's, like the Haunting Guise built into it, she can just run into fights and absolutely annihilate people. So she's the OP pick for the jungle right now because she has more damage than people usually expect. She tanks up damage very well because, well, in theory, she was built to be a tank, and she will out-assist, not die, and still pick up plenty of kills more than a lot of other junglers really will, unless you're playing straight on assassin junglers. So she is a OP pick in the jungle for patch 6.12, and if you haven't had a chance to play her recently, you might want to try her out again, and you might be very surprised. Now it's time to head things down to the bot lane, and first we're gonna go and talk about the supports, and my OP support for 6.12 is Zyra. Now that might not actually be that surprising, because I'm trying to pick more surprising picks than just generic ones, but honestly, I don't think we need to shy away from what makes Zyra so damn good. She does a crazy amount of damage, like ludicrous amounts of damage. I think there's only one other support that honestly even gets close to her damage, and that's I think Vel'Koz, and that makes sense. Oh, and Brand, those two. But basically, if you think about them, all 3 of those champions were all meant to be like mid laners that then kind of had to find other positions because the way the meta's evolved and other champions and what their kits entail and entitle them to have made it harder for them to live in the mid lane. So they take a friend to the bot lane and they will deal massive amounts of damage. Zyra, though, is one of the best. Top 2 right now, if not 1, for win rates as a support. I know a lot of fans actually playing her in ranked right now and climbing very steadily because of her just what she brings. She'll just bring so much sustained damage to the bot lane that you can win that lane pretty handily. So because of this, what we get from a support Zyra is we get, like I said, the damage. She typically has more kills than a lot of other supports. Not a terrible thing, honestly, because she can carry games with it. Luckily, she has so much AoE damage that she can kill and do a lot. One thing to be careful with, though, she is very squishy, so she does die a lot, but she also does get a handful of assists because of the amount of damage that she can bring. Now, the other things you have to trade off, though, with things like this are you obviously don't have somebody to heal. Really, what are they doing to support the ADC? Well, the support they bring them is they harass a lot and they kill things. And a little bit of peeling with plants and with roots and such. But for the most part, you have to be careful about how unfortunately smart your ADC is, because if they get into the overextendy thing, about the only thing you can do to help somebody who overextends or gets caught is throw all your damage at them and pray to God you win with damage first. So you can't really support like you may think with like a Janna or Soraka or like a Sona. You gotta be careful with that. But for the most part, if you're looking to deal tons of damage, thanks Freak, and win games, Zyra is like tip of the top tier right now for supports. She's super OP in the bot lane. And the funny thing is, I don't know if they'll actually ever nerf her much, because as much as it's OP, it's like kind of how she works and how that just kind of works and goes together. Just, that's what it does. That's how it, those are the things. That's the stuff. That's how it goes together. So, try her out in patch 6.12. She's OP. And finally, we bring things to the ADCs / marksmans of the bot lane. Now, this one actually, I'm going to not mix things up. I wanted to give it to someone else. I'll mention them briefly because I feel like they should get a shout out. But I am going to give it to the #1 win rate right now in the bot lane. It's going over to Ashe. Ashe is a menace in the bot lane right now. What she has brought back to certain gameplay, she also just does good damage. But what she's brought back right now that's been very important, we've seen this in professional play too, is she has so many damn good initiation tools. She slows people constantly with pretty much anything she shoots, but she has her arrows for fantastic engagements. And because of this, it sets her up actually as an ADC who actually gets a few more assists than some of the other ones, because she can do those ranged engagements and pick up a handful of assists that way because she hits a lot of people with it. The other big thing too that she brings is just, like I said, all of that extra utility that a handful of other ADCs really don't have. Now, her killing numbers are actually quite low when it comes comparatively to other ADCs. But that's because other ADCs have to make up and not get as many assists and have to kill more things because that's how they work. Ashe brings the utility, which sets teams up for engagements that then favor the team. For example, if she ults somebody, they catch them out, and the team kills them, even if she only gets assist off that and she doesn't really do too much else more, all she has to do then is show up to the rest of the fight as it's a 4v5, maybe do a volley once and slow everybody, and then everybody will help clean them up. Ashe brings a utility that a lot of other ADCs don't have, and right now it's a very important tool in the way that the meta has shifted. And because she doesn't have the most like stellar disengage besides her slows, like she can't really, like dash away or zip away like, who can get away easy? Ezreal can get away easy. Vayne can tumble away. We got Lucian, who can also zip out of fights pretty easily. So there's some tools others have that she doesn't, but realistically, it's all the other utility that helps make her really good. One thing I will say, I'll give the shout out, it's to Twitch. He has been rising. He has been better. He's been effectively making team fights better slowly, and he's been kind of finding a better spot. And also some of the little changes they've made have also made him slightly better, which is good, to just items and tweaks and stuff, because it's all the stuff he's actually buying, so it's just impacting him better, which is a good thing. So little shout out to Twitch. On the side, he's also been rising and doing a better job. He does kill a lot of things, but obviously less assists, and he dies a little bit more because he can kind of get caught out because he doesn't also have great escapes. But Ashe right now, OP pick. And the other fun thing about the Ashe OP pick right now is Ashe and Zyra combo, super awesome, huge OP combo that used to be like a huge thing back in Season 3. That was like just death and carnage. You'd get stuck in plants, you'd be slowed by Ashe, and you'd just sit and melt to damage. It was amazing. It was fun. The little bit of damage Ashe didn't have, Zyra would bring, and then together their utility would be death and carnage and mayhem. And we're kind of back to that. Hey, look, it only took 3 seasons. But that is the last OP pick of patch 6.12. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. Yeah, I think it'll be fun. I don't have to move champion names forward and backwards one spot and make them feel like they did something when they didn't, because that was kind of boring, and also there's so many damn champions in this game it's hard to keep track of. So that's the case. This is the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I wish all of you the best of luck playing your OP picks for the rest of the patch.